The man in this picture is named Gaddafi Farag Abdel Adi, one of the smartest criminals in Egypt. The butcher of Giza is in the shadow room. In 2020, Gaddafi was arrested by chance, but when he was caught, he was using a completely different name and identity. We'll find out in a moment how and why. Gaddafi was working as a simple employee from a modest family, and because his financial circumstances weren't helping him achieve his dreams, he decided to work in real estate brokerage. He worked as a real estate agent, whether in buying or renting properties or land. In 2014, when he started earning good money from brokerage and real estate mediation, he quit his job and decided to work full-time as a real estate broker. In 2015, he met a woman named Fatima El-Zahra. Fatima El-Zahra described Gaddafi as a shy, kind, and very respectful person in dealing with people. He married Fatima El-Zahra under his real name and identity, which was Gaddafi. Fatima El-Zahra didn't know that she was the second wife, and that the first wife was married to him under the same name and identity, which was Gaddafi. But there were wives before and after her under different names and identities of other people, which we'll learn about in detail now. 2015 is the date of the first crime committed by Gaddafi, and it involved a girl named Nadine, who was the sister of Fatima El-Zahra, the second wife. Gaddafi was having an illicit relationship with Nadine before deciding to marry her sister Fatima. When Nadine found out that Gaddafi wanted to marry her sister, she decided to expose him and tell her family and her sister that Gaddafi wasn't the person they thought he was, and that he was a completely different person. Gaddafi started thinking about committing his first crime, which was how to get rid of Nadine. I want you to hear Gaddafi's intelligence in the method of getting rid of Nadine, and it's the same intelligent method he used to get rid of all the victims afterward. Gaddafi decided to convince Nadine to act and return to her old dream. She had always wanted to work in acting, so he told her that there was a Syrian producer, his friend, who was ready to sign a movie contract with her. But the condition was that she travel outside Egypt. She would act in a group of artistic works in exchange for a large sum of money. At first, Nadine's family refused, and despite Gaddafi's intervention with them, they insisted on refusing until he brought the Syrian producer himself to their house. The producer had a conversation with Nadine's father and her mother, who were Gaddafi's in-laws, and convinced them that this was the opportunity of Nadine's lifetime to achieve stardom. As soon as her family agreed after pressure from Nadine, Nadine signed the contract and traveled. As soon as she traveled, her contact with the family was completely cut off. There was no communication happening. To the extent that she was sending them messages, sometimes saying she had an injury in her leg, sometimes that she was busy and couldn't communicate because of filming, sometimes that she left the house she was staying in and moved to a new house. But actual phone calls didn't exist. Nadine's family started to suspect Gaddafi greatly in his actions. When they spoke to Gaddafi about trying to reach the producer and bring their daughter back, he started searching with them about her and tried to call his friend the Syrian producer, but there was no use. In reality, at that time, he had already killed Nadine and buried her. At the same time, the problem occurred with his wife's family regarding Nadine. He had a lifelong friend named Rita. Rita was working in Saudi Arabia, and Gaddafi convinced him that working in real estate investment could make him earn a lot. Here, Rita was convinced by Gaddafi's words and started sending money to Gaddafi every month so he could invest it for him in real estate investment. But Rita, after 3 years, started to suspect because there was no financial return coming from Gaddafi to Rita. The amount of transfers that were made from Rita to Gaddafi reached £3 million. So engineer Rita decided to come back to Egypt to meet Gaddafi himself regarding all the properties that Gaddafi had bought and the size of the investment he had made with the £3 million. Gaddafi found out that Rita was coming for him, so he decided to complete the rest of the plan. The first thing he did was meeting Rita at the airport and asked him to go to one of the apartments that he had bought in Rita's name, to have an Egyptian meal there that he had been craving for a long time. Rita went with him to the house, and while they were sitting, he opened the meal for him, but Gaddafi had put poison in this meal. As soon as Rita ate the food that had poison in it, he started feeling very severe pain in his stomach. Gaddafi went into the kitchen and brought a piece of iron that he had prepared and hit engineer Rita on the head more than once until he was sure he was dead. Gaddafi at that time had prepared a large bag to transport Rita from the apartment where he killed him to another apartment also in engineer Rita's name. After burying Rita in the apartment, he locked the apartment and returned to his home. He told Rita's family that he met him and they had a short conversation, then left him and didn't know where he went. He went to search with Rita's family everywhere Rita could possibly go, until Rita's family was surprised to receive a message on his sister's phone saying that it was Rita but sending from a new phone, and that he was arrested while walking in the street because there was political riots and he didn't know where security had taken him. This was logic at this time in Egypt. Of course, Rita's family, after 5 years, found out that the one who had sent this message was Gaddafi. Gaddafi at that time felt that the matter of killing and hiding the body was very easy, so he decided to take revenge on his first wife, whose name was also Fatima. This was because of a big fight that happened between them when she saw a large number of personal ID cards, all of them with Gaddafi's picture, but the name on each card was different. Here she started threatening Gaddafi that she would report him because she suspected he was a scammer, until Gaddafi decided to get rid of his first wife. Using the same method as Rita, he put poison in her food, and as soon as she died, he decided to cut her body into small pieces and put these pieces inside the freezer and left them until they froze. Then he moved the bags containing his second wife while frozen to the same apartment where he had buried Rita. He had also prepared a hole to bury the second body in. After finishing burying the second body inside the same apartment, he decided to completely renovate the apartment and offer it for rent. He actually renovated everything in the apartment and installed new tiles, then offered the apartment for rent. People lived in it for 4 years without knowing that underneath them were corpses of dead people. After Gaddafi killed his first wife, he went to her family and told them that she had taken money from him and stolen money from the house, then disappeared, and he didn't know anything about her. His wife's family made a report accusing Gaddafi of being the main reason for their daughter's disappearance or murder, but there was no evidence against him, and he was able to prove this and continue his life normally. In 2017, he had all the powers of attorney for Rita, so he decided to sell all of Rita's properties, took the money, and left Giza completely and went to Alexandria. But before traveling to Alexandria, he decided to send another message to Rita's family lawyer, telling him that he was Rita but was arrested and being moved from place to place, but he didn't know exactly where he was. At the same time, the lawyer found out that all of Rita's properties had been sold and that the one who sold them was Gaddafi. Here the lawyer quickly went to the police station to make a report formally accusing him of Rita's disappearance, and discovered that there were many fraud cases filed against Gaddafi. At that time, Gaddafi traveled to Alexandria, but when he traveled, his ID and all his official papers said that he was engineer Rita. He lived among people in Alexandria under the name Rita, specializing in electronics engineering. There he met a girl named Yasmin. Yasmin was impressed by him, and he convinced her that he had big investment ideas and started taking money from her so she could invest this money with him. At the same time, Gaddafi, who was impersonating Rita, was promising her marriage. But after a long time passed, Yasmin didn't find any new developments happening, so she asked him to return the money to her and marry her as he had promised her. He told her that he didn't have money he could give her, but he could give her electrical appliances from his warehouse equivalent to the amount of money he had taken from her. So he asked her to come to him at the warehouse in the Asafra area at night. When she went to him at the warehouse, he strangled her, hit her on the head, and killed her. He dug a hole inside the warehouse and buried her there, and Yasmin's story ended completely. After a long period, a report was made about Yasmin's disappearance, but there was nothing against Gaddafi, who for them was Rita the electrical engineer. After getting rid of Yasmin, he decided to marry a pharmacist named Noha. She was from a wealthy family in Alexandria, but after a marriage period that lasted 3 months, this pharmacist asked Gaddafi, whom she knew as Rita, for a divorce. Gaddafi agreed to the divorce, but Gaddafi decided to take new revenge on her. Because they were a wealthy family, he decided to rob them. Gaddafi went to his father-in-law and mother-in-law's house, but he was wearing a niqab, which is Arabic face cover, and opened the apartment and entered because he knew they weren't there and were traveling. After stealing the jewelry and money, he disappeared completely. The first suspect was Gaddafi, who was engineer Rita, and they went to the police station to make a report against Rita. So actually they were looking for someone who didn't exist in the first place. After Gaddafi changed his place of residence, he named himself Mohammed Mustafa and made all the required papers so that his name would be Mohammed in front of all people. He met a woman named Mai. This woman was also from a wealthy family. Gaddafi decided to show off that he had money so he can impress her. So he took a small group of gold jewelry that he had stolen and went to sell them at a gold shop. The first time it was sold normally and the shop owner didn't suspect him. But the suspicion happened the second time when Gaddafi went to him with a large bag full of gold jewelry. At that time, the police department had distributed a bulletin. This bulletin contained all the descriptions of the gold jewelry that had been stolen from the house of Noha, the pharmacist who had been married to Gaddafi, who was calling himself Engineer Rita at that time. The gold shop owner, when Gaddafi entered with the gold jewelry, was able to recognize the stolen items and reported to the police, telling them that there was a strange person who came to sell gold jewelry similar to the jewelry that was stolen. The police asked him to delay Gaddafi as much as he could, and indeed the shop owner did that until the police arrived to arrest Rita, who was accused of stealing the gold jewelry. Gaddafi was arrested at the gold shop and transferred to Alexandria Security Directorate. Engineer Rita's family was informed that he had been arrested in Alexandria and was accused in a theft case. Engineer Rita's family quickly arrived in Alexandria to see their brother and discovered that the person they came to visit was Gaddafi, and at the time of his arrest his name was Mohammed Mustafa. After tightening the investigations with him, he confessed to all his crimes, and the bodies were extracted and identified. Gaddafi is considered one of the smartest and most difficult criminals you could hear about in Egypt, but in the end he was caught and sentenced to death. If you liked this episode, like, share, and subscribe to the Shadow Room.